You take your knife and you smear. Men smear.
Smear.
That's it. Hold the knife boldly and with strength.
How can I pierce the toast?
Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Colin Peters.
John Rochetter.
Greg Molt.
And a very special guest to join us today is Benjamin Ruth.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you very much for coming to the podcast again, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to hang out with you guys.
It's fun having you here. We're happy you're here. Jeff couldn't be with us today. He has a little family get-together, so he's with us in spirit, though. But I'm sure he's going to be listening to this, so we just wanted to say, Pazuzu!
Pazuzu!
Pazuzu! Just, he's here in spirit.
If you saw the last podcast, you'll know what that's from.
So that was just for you, Jeff. We love you. We miss you, buddy. Wish you could be here, but we understand. And we hope you're having a good time. But today, we are going to talk about a comedy movie, since we talked about horror in the last episode. And this is actually a comedy movie that goes a bit under the radar. It is a heck of an ensemble cast of a movie. And it is The Birdcage, starring Robin Williams, Gene Hackman, Nathan Lane, and Dianne Wiest. And this is one of these movies that, like I said, it goes under the radar, but it is so worth talking about. And Ben, I'm glad that you're here to talk about this, because this is also one of your favorite movies.
Oh, absolutely. This is it's not something that I usually think about when I think about my favorite movies, but every time someone mentions it's like, oh yeah, I fucking love that movie. That movie is awesome. It really is actually one of my favorite movies, and I think one of the reasons it is one of my favorite movies is because it's really progressive for the time and place that it took place in. I mean, this was the mid '90s. We were still dealing with an AIDS crisis, and this is one of those movies that helped to bring, I think, LGBT issues and some humanization of those issues also into the mainstream. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's, and as you were saying, it's a movie that kind of flies under the radar. It's one of those movies that not a lot of people really talk about much. True. But everyone that has seen it says, like what I said, yeah, that movie is fantastic. It's hilarious. It made a ton of money. It was huge at the time.
Yes.
And it's got like fantastic performances from almost
everybody.
I would say
mostly everybody.
Mostly
I have
everybody.
some issues with a few people, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
the kid.
We'll get into that. But yeah, it's and at the time it's like it was one of the first real. I want to say it was one of the first real mainstream movies that got a lot of attention at the time with main characters with LGBT main characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like the entire focus is. I mean, one could say that the kids like start off this movie and they're the basis for the plot line of the movie, but the movie really is about. Is really about Armand and Albert. It's about Robin Williams and Nathan Lane's characters.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And Nathan Lane steals this freaking movie
He does.
out from everybody else.
You know, it's amazing to me that, I don't know if it's just his career choices after this, but it's almost like we didn't really see too much of Nathan Lane. Like here and there. And
he had an outstanding Broadway career.
Oh,
this is what brought him out of Broadway to basically being his first major feature-length film? Was this a movie?
Well, I think this was his first major role in a major, at least a live-action film. Because he had done
Lion King.
He had done The Lion King.
That's right.
Before this, by a couple of years.
Timon.
Yeah, he was Timon. Mm-hmm. Well, for everybody who doesn't know The Birdcage, quick synopsis of it is Robin Williams and Nathan Lane play homosexual men, And Robin Williams owns it's a drag club.
It's a drag
right?
club.
It's a drag club. It's a gay bar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't actually know of any club or gay bar specifically ever referred to as a drag club.
Okay.
It's a gay bar.
A drag cabaret.
It's a gay club that has a nightly drag cabaret.
Well, in the mid '90s, maybe it was called that then, and it just kind of went away.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to gay clubs in 1996. Was it 96? It's like I was still in high school. I wasn't going to any of these things yet.
But yes, Robin Williams, he owns this gay club, and he's pretty much the director of the shows too. And Nathan Lane is not just his partner, but he is the main star of the actual show. And I believe, what's the name? Starina,
Yes.
Starina is his character's
Starina.
name. He plays, and Hank Azaria plays Agador Spartacus,
Oh my
or is
God.
it just Agador? I think they dub him Spartacus at the end.
I
of
think
the
they
movie.
do, but he's known as Agador.
Yeah, he's known as Agador, who is absolutely fantastic in the movie as well. He is the housemaid. He helps take care of their chores and stuff. How good he is,
That's to be observed, but great character actor.
Yeah,
And of course, everybody knows Hank Azaria mostly from doing voices on The Simpsons.
Yes.
And he has had a lot of like actual movie and Broadway roles over the years. He's a fantastic actor all around.
Yeah.
He was in Spamalot on Broadway when it
with Tim Curry?
premiered. Yeah, with Tim Curry and David.
I didn't know that,
David Hyde
actually.
Pierce. I was so mad when I went to actually see Spamalot. I saw it with almost the entire original cast. Except Hank Azaria was off that weekend. It's like, damn it!
Did any of you see the Showtime series Huff? He was the star of that.
I didn't know that.
Back in the mid 2000s.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't had the chance to watch it.
I haven't
He's
seen
on a
Huff.
newer show, isn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen him in his newer show.
Something,
He's
yeah.
like a baseball announcer.
That sounds familiar. I think maybe we'll have to look it up.
It is a good. It is a really good show though, and he's fantastic in that. But before we get too off topic here, what it's about is Robin Williams' biological son that he's had with a woman. His name's Val, comes back home from college, I think, and he tells his dad, Robin Williams, that he plans on getting married.
Yes.
And Robin Williams isn't really too thrilled about the idea. I think, doesn't he say like he's not even 18 yet, or he's just barely 18?
He doesn't look 18. He's
They
older than that.
the daughter-
They say 20, but the actor is 27.
Okay.
Something like- yeah.
And Callista Flockhart, who plays his fiance, they comment that she's barely 18, and Callista Flockhart was 30 when they made this movie.
Oh my God, yeah. It's so funny.
It's a very complex scene though when he comes home because Nathan Lane suspects that Robin Williams is
Just
cheating
having
on
an
him.
affair,
And then
right.
he's like, "Where do you go during the shows and all this?" So I'm watching. This was actually the first
I'm
time
killing myself on stage.
You don't drink white wine, you only drink red.
Red has tannin.
Yeah, and then he made up an excuse for his health of why he changed the wine. But then he sneaks out during the show again and he runs up the stairs. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Is he really cheating on this guy? And then his son comes home, but at this time you don't really know it's his son. So he goes up and he gives him a kiss, and the first thing I'm thinking is, oh my gosh, he is cheating on this guy. You know, he is cheating on Nathan Lane. And then it turns out that through the conversation, you learn that it's his father.
Yeah.
Or his
Yeah.
son.
Yeah.
Father's
It does
son.
give you that delusion right away. That
does.
It's like, whoa, is this really going down? And then it's like,
seeing
oh,
somebody
damn,
younger,
it's
a
his
lot
kid.
younger.
Yeah. But, yeah, so Val tells Robin Williams, who plays Armand, that he plans on getting married to Callista Flockhart's character, Barbara, I believe. Her name
Yes,
is.
yes.
I'm Keeley?
Keeley.
Yeah.
That's the family name.
And her mom and dad are Gene Hackman, who plays a senator, Kevin Keeley, and her mom, Dianne Wiest, is the mom. Barbara's mom.
Yes.
Louise?
Someone says Luis.
Yeah, I think it's Luis.
Louise, okay.
Or is it Louise?
Louise. Oh, it could be
Yeah.
Louise.
Luis.
Yeah. Just watch this.
And they're right wing conservatives.
They are very right wing conservatives, and Gene Hackman is a wound up.
He's a
Senator.
Republican
Senator.
Yeah.
And of course, he detests this idea, and he goes off spouting all sorts of silly nonsense when, he hears the news about Callista Flockhart wanting to get married, asking if, the guy she's with has been tested.
I know. You're marrying so young, but I'm really 30.
It's like there's really that clutching pearls moment.
Yeah.
Reaction from Dianne Wiest as the mother. It's like, has he been tested? Yes. So
so
have I. It's like,
And the mom constantly calls her Barbie. Please don't call me Barbie. And what Gene Hackman and Dianne Wiest don't know, along with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, is that they didn't tell Callista Flockhart's parents that Armand and Albert is Nathan Lane's character, are homosexual men that own a gay club.
Yeah. In South Florida.
Yeah. So these Republican, families are like, that won't fly.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is now the kid's trying to say, well, if you give me the okay to marry her, I got to introduce you to her parents, but yet we got to change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And naturally, I mean...
But that's not the full reason that they have to change everything. They're perfectly happy keeping like these two separate families completely separate until they actually have to get married. The only reason the families are coming together is because Senator Keeley is involved in a scandal because because his political partner gets found in bed with an underage whore,
which I found weird watching it for the first time in 2019. They made a point to call her an underage black whore.
Yes,
and I was like, okay, that's
minor,
really questionable. Maybe that passed for 1996. But today, it doesn't seem like you need to throw that in there when you already have underage and whore.
Well, they show her then, too.
I know.
They do show her.
Yeah.
But the fact that they felt the need to include the adjective of black.
Right. There are certain things that wouldn't fly. There's also like the headdresses that the drag performers wear, like the beginning, like they're wearing these big authentic Indian headdresses with all these flamboyant colors. I'm like, that might not fly too well with certain people.
Drag queens can get away with anything. Drag queens, as long as they can pull the look off, will get away with anything. I can tell you that.
Okay.
After years of experience at gay bars and watching RuPaul's Drag Race, they can pretty much do whatever the heck they want. But yeah, so the senator's political partner gets involved and dies, and it creates the scandal, and they have to escape the paparazzi. So they secretly run down to Miami Beach and decide to hide out there and actually meet Val's parents, and that's why we have the changeover. Everything has to be changed for the illusion.
Right.
And that's when, like, it's always like a roller coaster of a movie, really, especially because Nathan Lane's character is just, I don't want to say bipolar, but he's just so over dramatic in everything.
He is a woman trapped in a man's body.
Yes.
He is this 50-year-old queen. Like, everyone get out of my way. Like, that's who he is.
He's the star of the show, and Armand is the director.
Albert is a paranoid diva.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Paranoid diva.
Completely over the top. The modern nomenclature would be extra as fuck. That describes Albert to a T. And like I said, I think Nathan Lane almost makes this movie because of his performance.
You know everything because you're a man, and I know nothing because I'm a woman.
You're not a woman.
Oh,
not a woman.
It's like within those first couple of scenes that we see those two interact, you get a complete feel for what the comedy for the rest of this movie is.
Totally.
Is going to be like the outlandishness, the over the top of this, and it's perfect though. The casting for this is perfect, even though there were a lot of like difference in casting originally set up for this.
Yeah, like originally Robin Williams was suggested to be cast as Albert.
Yes.
And then Steve Martin was actually considered to be
Armand.
Yes.
And Robin Williams actually said that because he had done Mrs. Doubtfire, it was
too similar, way too similar.
Yeah.
People would have been like, "Is this Mrs. Doubtfire Part 2 now? Like, what's going on here?"
He wanted to do something a little less over the top as far as the character goes. And then Steve Martin couldn't do it anyway because I guess there were conflicts. There were scheduling conflicts with another movie. Okay. So Steve Martin dropped out, and when it was open, Robin Williams said, "Hey, I'd rather do this part." It's like, it's another fantastic performance from Williams.
Oh my god,
it really is.
I really don't think he's ever had
such a well-rounded,
a bad performance. I mean, he's had some movies that were questionable, but
every actor really has those.
But I But what has he actually been bad in? You know, like the movie itself may be bad, but
It's
know,
never his.
It's
never
his
his
fault.
doing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
like if there's always at least one bright spot of a bad movie that he was in, it was that he was in it.
The guy can pull off both comedy and drama to great effect. I mean,
Everything.
I'm gonna have to just go out on a limb and say I wasn't a big fan of RV or his performance in RV.
Okay, all right, yeah. There was that other film with him and John Travolta that wasn't very good either, but I don't know if that was his. That's the director and the production. And
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I don't know. The director and the producer. It was like some bad comedy. The same director who made Wild Hogs. It was like John Travolta and
was that Death to Smoochie?
No. It was a dad comedy. It was
Are you
awful.
sure you're not thinking the one with Billy Crystal?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
Because that was another dad comedy.
It was some kind of dad comedy. I don't even want to get into it anyway.
What
but
would it call Old Dogs or something?
something like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
sounds familiar.
That
Sounds familiar, but I
that.
didn't think Robin Williams was in that.
I think
one.
he
thought it
was in that.
like a
Him
bunch
and
of
Travolta. Yeah. Well, Wild Hogs is the movie that the director did before he made that movie.
Oh,
but it had
that's
like
what I'm thinking of.
it had like
Right.
Martin Lawrence and Tim Allen, these big comedic geniuses, and it was like, how did you make this film suck? But yeah,
Very easily.
easily.
That was Wild
But
Hogs.
yeah, that was Wild Hog. But let's not get into that.
Oh.
But watch this movie. I watched it for the first time about a month and a half ago. I knew about this movie beforehand, but never actually watched it from beginning, middle, and end.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I'm serious. I heard about the movie, never got a chance to sit down and watch it. I mean, Greg, you just watched it last night for the first time, which was awesome.
Yep.
But watching this movie, I didn't get choked up because now we know that Robin Williams is no longer with us. But watch this movie, I didn't get choked up. I was like, oh, I just feel bad because now that he's no longer with us, I'm just going to be focusing on that throughout the majority. But no, like I was totally drawn to his outlandishly brilliant, funny performance in this movie, as well as like even some of the more touching sides. Like even when they have to like get rid of all the stuff in the house,
Yeah.
you can tell he looks at his son Val and goes, "Do me a favor, don't talk to me for a while." Like that's genuine. Oh yeah,
It's both funny and poignant at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, there is a family message to it. There really is.
There is.
I mean, for as like strained as some things are in it, there really is a coming together of the families. Like not just him, Albert, and Val. Like it almost seems like at some point Val kind of like doesn't really like Albert. You know, you kind of get that vibe.
You do a little bit.
Like
he's embarrassed by it.
Go.
Almost like he's embarrassed by it. That's why, like, you actually feel for Albert quite a bit because he's oh, I'm a monster now. Like, I can't be seen in public with people now.
Yeah, I guess
I just got to go away because I'm a freak.
Yeah, I guess we should explain that Val doesn't want Albert around at all.
At all.
He actually wants his biological mother to play his mom when he meets Barbara's family.
Right.
Or when Barbara's family comes in, he wants them to meet his
And
actual mom.
I took that as pretty harsh.
That's,
towards-
yeah.
It was
well,
harsh.
yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. How many years have they been dealing with Albert's very
Nonsense.
dramatic,
Yeah.
very
Outlandish.
dramatic, outlandish
Yeah.
nonsense?
I mean, look how he acted too when he heard the news about Val getting married, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, and he's crying going through the baby album.
Yeah. It's not his kid, but he's like so emotional about this whole
Well, I
thing.
mean, it is his kid. I mean,
Yeah.
But
Not his biological kid, but yes.
And I think was it Futterman? The actor's name is for Val. His last name is Futterman. I think
Futterman. Yeah,
but I
that's
think
his name.
I think as much as the plot centers around and is pushed forward by Val and Barbara trying to get their families together and so that they can get married, I think Val and Barbara are probably the two weakest characters.
They are.
in the movie.
That's my big issue with the movie.
It's like we're doing all this stuff for these two characters, but we don't really get much likable from either of them. I mean, it's like I think Callista Flockhart in this movie at least has enough personality and enough charisma that we kind of feel for her, especially being over the overbearing, like hard right wing conservative family. But Val just kind of comes off like a dick.
He does.
Very much.
He does.
Movie.
Yeah.
It's like we don't really get like a moment of redemption for him.
You
it's
don't.
like at the end when
I'd say at the very end.
I mean,
A little
But,
Yeah.
but it's
At the
more
very
becoming a realization, really.
Yeah, at the very end, it becomes more like, oh, we got caught, and I have to fess up
Fess
to it
up
at this
about
point.
this, yeah.
But it doesn't come off as heartwarming because we don't see him thinking about it through the movie and coming around. It's just
Right.
like at the very last moment, it's like the reveal happens and he's explaining it, but we don't. I don't feel like it's redemptive for him.
You
at
don't
all.
really get a lot of scenes between him and Albert. You really just, it's between Armand and Val, really. That's like the core of that. Because I felt like that was something that was missing from the movie, is that like you never really get into Val's mindset about what it was like growing up.
Yeah.
I guess with having two dads, essentially. And they never really have a scene together. Like, just,
Well,
I don't know.
I think another thing with Val is he kind of comes off, I don't want to say as a brat, but stuck up. Because he does say that when he was at his fraternity that he was the only one that wasn't from a broken home, and Armand tells him, stop. Don't talk like that.
Yeah.
And then when Albert first sees him in the morning, and he says, well, don't just stand there, give me a kiss. And he's just kind of like, morning, Albie.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why gotta be like that?
I know.
But here's the thing. Maybe it was supposed to be redemption at the end when he says, this is my father and this is my mother. But
These are my
I don't want to
parents.
be really critical, but I think the Val actor just doesn't have a lot of range.
Oh, I think
Exactly,
so too.
exactly.
I thought he was really
It's like-
Exactly.
it's not-
he was
not just-
underwhelming.
Yeah, it's not just the writing or the way
The writing is not the problem of this movie.
It's the acting. It's primarily the acting. He doesn't have a lot of charisma and he doesn't have a lot of range with it.
Yeah.
Well, his
In
last
this
name-
performance, we
Well,
can't
yeah,
judge the actor with
if
just one.
Right.
If
Well-
that's supposed to be the redemptive moment, it doesn't feel like the actor has earned it.
Well,
Right.
to be fair, I mean, his last name is Futterman. And that's,
Would you want that last name?
Hey, that man has an Oscar. I know.
wait, Futterman has an Oscar?
Butterman has an Oscar for writing. I think it's like an adaptive
Oh,
adaptive screenplay.
okay.
Well, that's not too shocking. I mean, I'm not.
It's like Ben Affleck has an Oscar for writing.
Yeah.
For
He
writing.
has two. He has one for producing.
That's right.
Arguably.
He definitely redeemed himself. Though. He's definitely redeemed. But back then he didn't really.
Well, I guess we got to give some other backstory that Birdcage is actually not the original version.
No.
It's actually an Americanized version from a French film. Or do I have that wrong? Did the film come first or did the play come first?
The play actually came first. The play was written. I know. I have it here. The play was written by a French playwright named Jean Poiret, and it was first produced in 1973. And it was quickly then made into a French-Italian film, which was extremely popular at the time and actually earned like 2 sequels afterwards. Wow. I haven't seen either of the sequels, but I've seen the original movie.
And the name of it is
La
Cage aux Folles?
Is La Cage aux Folles.
La Cage aux
It
Folles.
literally translates to the Birdcage.
Okay.
And the original movie is much more of that kind of 70s semi-European humor. It almost feels like it could be a Pink Panther movie. It's got a lot of that slapstick movie moments kind of in it. And actually, I think I can't remember if that's actually him or not. The actor playing the Senator Keeley part in the original French movie, I think, is actually the commissioner from the Pink Panther movies. I could very well be wrong about that. I don't remember, but he has like one of those kind of Pink Panther humor moments, like when he's talking on the phone and he gets like the news and everything. He gets so frustrated that he actually dips his phone into his cereal and tries to eat it. It's like completely flustered. It's like, yeah, that's definitely a 70s humor kind of thing. But the director for the movie, Mike Nichols,
Yes.
who funny because you just talked about the
Exorcist.
The Exorcist last
Yeah.
time, and Mike Nichols was actually up for directing The Exorcist too,
Oh.
and turned it down because he didn't think they could find a kid who could do the Reagan part. Mike Nichols was originally supposed to produce a version of La Cage aux Folles in the U.S. on Broadway.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Before the movie.
Long before the movie.
Long
This was
before
like
the
the early 80s.
Oh, wow, okay.
He was going to do a production of it on Broadway, and then when the producers brought in an entirely different production staff, he left. But they continued with it, and we got the musical La Cage aux Folles with a book written by Harvey Fierstein. And that's the musical that a lot of people are familiar
Futterman,
with.
Futterstein, Gold
Futterstein.
Jacket, Jean Jacket. Who gives a shit?
David.
And so Mike Nichols eventually did get to, of course, make his version of it. It wasn't a musical. We got this in the Birdcage now, in the '90s. But apparently there was a possibility of doing the Birdcage again as a movie in the '80s. It was supposed to star Frank Sinatra and Dudley Moore.
Whoa, man.
And Frank Sinatra
Okay.
Frank Sinatra was supposedly into the idea, and Dudley Moore turned it down. So
Dudley Moore was the one who turned it down.
Oh,
never got
shit.
made.
I would think the opposite. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so Mike Nichols he eventually came in and he did the actual movie that we got now.
And what a movie it turned out to be.
Seriously, it did.
It was actually really hard for me to find quite a bit of information on this movie. I don't know if it's because it doesn't live up to that, like, classic, oh, you gotta see standards, which I really don't understand why. I mean, I still remember this movie came out in 96.
96, yes.
96.
Yep.
And growing up, my dad had a thing for every birthday. He would take me to the movies, and I would pick whatever movie I wanted. And I remember just thinking, hands down, this was the movie I wanted to see. And I was 9, and I knew this was going to be a great movie at the time. And you know, and at 9 years old too, and you know me, I'm a well-rounded guy. I don't care if it's got homosexual tendencies in it or whatever. I mean, I grew up watching Rocky Horror Picture Show, so I mean, this is nothing compared to that.
Robin Williams' name recognition.
I think it's your Robin Williams.
Robin Williams' name recognition. I mean,
Yeah.
just anything with him in it was great in the 90s.
Oh my God, yeah.
Flocked to the theaters to see him.
This was actually when I heard the news he passed away, this was actually the first movie I put on.
This was the first movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Dead Poet Society for me.
I watched this and Hook.
Oh,
That was the first 2 Robin Williams movies I watched after I found out.
Greg, did you watch this one? It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
That is one of my favorite movies.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting. I love Good Will Hunting.
But yeah, Robin Williams does a fantastic job. I love the director had to compromise with Williams and Nathan Lane, because he insisted on doing at least one take where they read the script as it is.
Oh, very serious, right?
Very, very serious. Do it exactly as it's written, and then we'll do it again and let you guys improv the hell out of it.
Okay.
My roommate and I, we watched this a couple nights ago. It's like we just kind of turned it on because we know it, we enjoy it, and we can just listen to it in the background while we're working on other stuff. It's like we were just sitting there trying to figure out how much of this is actually improv, because it sounds like so much of it.
A lot of it had to be improv.
Yeah.
You take the knife and you smear.
You
Then
smear.
smear.
It's like,
Oh, it pierced the toast!
Yeah, it's like, who would actually write that line? How about them dolphins, huh?
my roommate and I could not stop laughing at the Pierce the Toast scene.
Yeah.
That's freaking amazing. So in the movie, they decide that they're gonna have Albert stick around for the dinner and insist that he's an uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Al.
Uncle Al.
So Williams as Armand takes Albert out and is trying to teach him to man up a little bit, and as they're using cutlery at a cafe table, he's trying to teach him how to butter toast, and he just cuts the whole thing like right off his hand, and is just starts freaking out. It's like, I pierced the toast. It's like, oh, I just have to remember that I can always get more toast. but we constantly just crack up at that scene, and the director actually had to hide behind a sound blanket.
Yeah, they kept pulling him back from the camera
because he could not stop laughing.
laughing so
either.
hard.
It's like I can't screw
The
up
pinky in
this
the
shot.
drink, the pinky in the drinking glass. Put your
Yeah,
pinky
yeah,
down.
Put the goddamn pinky down.
And he's saying, he had the pinky up as he's saying, I could pull it off. I could be straight. He's like, come on, look at your pinky.
Yeah, talk tough. To be a man.
That's perfect. I just never realized John Wayne walked
Like that. Howdy, man.
Oh, and that's of course the other thing. This movie is so funny, and even with all the improv, this movie is so quotable.
It has so many
is.
one-liners. Like, you can literally quote the whole movie, and then you go, I just said the whole movie.
Yeah.
It-
That's you know, a comedy's great when it stands test, when you can quote like everything about it.
Oh yeah, yes. Agaros Spartacus. I never wear shoes. They make me fall down.
what are you giving him drugs for? What the hell are Pirin tablets? It's aspirin with the AMES stripped off.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I know.
You made me this short, fat, middle-aged thing.
I made you short?
when they were actually trying to pull it off in the makeshift new place that they had built for it, and there was just one part where they're sitting so awkwardly and uncomfortably on those like real straight chairs, just right next to each other, and it's like there's not even a table in between them. It's just like chairs right there. And then the first time Hank Azaria came walking out from behind, he was like tripping over his own. And I was just like, oh my god! Like,
And Robin Williams, perfect.
He's trying to find the exit. He's like running to a wall.
just the curtains everywhere, and it's like and as much as Val was saying, just subtract. Don't add. Because they keep bringing stuff in, like this giant moose head when they're redecorating everything.
The Playboy magazine's like,
Playboy
that was there.
They'll put Playboy in the bathroom, but it's what they read. But it's like, as far as they went, it's like, I'm sitting there and thinking, it's like, they wouldn't have to do half of this stuff.
No,
he's a cultural attaché to Greece. Of course they would have, like, Greek statues. It's like, it's Poseidon.
Yeah.
Why would they have a Greek statue?
I know.
They had the cultural attaché to Greece. But that's art. But it's like, even as far as they went with it to like strip everything down, you can even tell like when the Keeleys come in, it's too much.
Yeah.
Because the first thing Louis says when they walk in, it's like, I like its severity. It's like, this is stark and lifeless and the like Williams's comedic timing, even working with props and everything, and like the set work is amazing. So when they're referring to it as his work home, it's like, this isn't so much as a summer home as all you see is Robin Williams turn around next to a cross and say, a monastery.
Yes.
Are we crucifying someone tonight?
I guess we should talk about how they still do attempt to bring in Val's mom.
Yes.
But it becomes a failed attempt.
Christine Baranski.
Yes, Christine Baranski. I freaking love
brilliant.
Christine Baranski.
Absolutely. She gets, as we said, this movie goes under the radar, but she gets absolutely lost in this movie.
A little bit, yeah.
Nobody realizes that she's in it.
I know.
And for the limited time she's in, it's like, whoa.
I wish we had more of her because she's such a 90s icon. Like like with like Robin Williams and Steve Martin. I mean, she was a big part of that era.
And if you say her name, a lot of people go, who?
Who? I know. Until you actually like, oh yeah, her. Yeah.
Yeah, but they remember Julia Roberts. Yeah. See.
But she's so funny though. I wish she had a little bit bigger part. Her and Robin Williams have a great scene though. That sets Albert like to the hills, like, I'm so fed up with you. I knew this was happening. Or,
he actually thought it was legit.
Yeah.
Albert and Armand go to Christine Baranski's character to try to get her to come to the dinner
and be the mom
and act as the mom,
she is. They're just not married.
They're just not married. Yeah,
right. They had a torrid like one night affair. Let's see, how many times did they do it in one night or something?
Yeah,
and I guess because they were in a touring production of a show or something
like that. Yeah,
and actually you can actually figure out what show they must have been in, because as they're walking around and dancing, they're dancing with each other, and I'm trying to think, what the heck are they singing? Because it's like, I've never heard this from before. What show is it from? It's actually the original opening song
to La Cage.
No, it's actually the original opening song to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Okay,
and the song
right.
The song was deleted and replaced with Comedy Tonight, which then Nathan Lane sings in the revival.
Right.
Of the show on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know this from anywhere.
That's
what is it
right.
from? It's like
Sonic-
I had
Sonic.
to
I never even thought of thinking that. I mean,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But to get back to, Christine Baranski trying to come while Nathan Lane is pretending to, be the mom, and it has to go all the way back to the, whatever you want to call it, the media circus that Gene Hackman's character brings along.
Oh
with
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Nathan Lane doesn't officially become the mom until he comes in as Uncle Al, and he's got the pink socks, and he can't sit with his legs like cross-straight, and he leans in, and he's like, "Oh, I took off all my rings.
I'm not wearing makeup.
I'm not wearing makeup.
I'm like you, a guy. A guy.
And he just disappears, and every now and then you kind of hear him in the background doing subtle like, oh,
They call like a dog.
yeah,
That's the dog.
It's our family dog.
So the dog's named Piranha. They say the dog's name is Piranha. It's like, but then like Christine Baranski gets stuck in traffic on the way to dinner.
Yeah.
There's a raised bridge and
and
everything.
she gets stuck in traffic and calls the house, and while the Keeleys are already there, and then they try to just cover it up, and I don't know how Albert does it. Like, is there another door somewhere in the house that she can escape down to the club and come up from upstairs? Because she goes downstairs somehow, comes back up the stairs completely dressed in full drag, in full rich like housewife drag, trying to act as the mom, because she overheard the conversation outside that the mom wasn't.
It's almost kind of like they don't want
It was like
the audience to question it, like just accept it.
Yeah.
And the look on Robin Williams' face was absolutely
They just
priceless.
saw a ghost. Oh my
and then she,
oh my god, what is he doing?
and then she basically saves the whole night.
Yeah.
Because as nervous and as freaking out inside as Armand is, Albert is like the one totally playing everything completely cool. There's an explanation for absolutely everything.
Gene Hackman loves her.
He
loves
loves her. All this man jargon is like failing with Robin Williams. Like, no one cares about the dolphins or what you're talking about right now. You're so infatuated with Albert.
Or the plates. Remember the plates at the dinner table? Oh, it looks like
Who sets the table without looking at the plates?
it looks like these boys are playing leapfrog.
It's like everything that they didn't think to account for. Like, it's like the only meal they have is this sweet and sour peasant stew. something Agador Spartacus just totally whipped up off the top of his head.
And doesn't Val even say, "Can you cook?" And he goes, "Well, your father seems to think so."
It's like, and we've seen the extent of his cooking earlier in the movie when he made sludge for breakfast.
Yeah, he did.
Ooh, Turkish coffee.
Like, he's like outside, like cleaning the plants, and he's like in a thong or something. Like, can we get a straight maid? There are no straight maids.
Southeast Miami.
It's like, and a lot of their explanations, that's where you almost have to wonder how much of it is improv.
Yeah.
It's like, well, when we moved into the area, it was mostly sand. It's like, we were told it was mostly Jewish. It's like, well, you know the old saying, where there's sand,
There's Jews.
And their last name is Goldman, right?
And then they changed it to Coleman.
Coleman, that's right. That's a big bit.
Jewish.
Yes.
Wasn't there a D at the end?
Coleman.
The D is silent.
Coleman. The Goldman in the middle. The D is in the middle is silent, depending on where they are.
Yeah.
It's Col du Limon in France. It's Col the Isle of Man. It's like, we don't know where we are until we hear our names pronounced. and just that laugh coming out of
Nathan Lane was like a combination of Barbara Bush meets Leave It to Beaver.
Oh my god.
It's like,
him and Armand are holding hands, and the more that Albert talks, he's squeezing it. It's just like
Squeezing it even tighter.
It's like, oh, I can't The other thing that I love about this movie is that despite all of the issues that it brings up, and like you were saying, it's really a film about family values, and it is. I mean, it's lampooning, and it's like basically making fun of like the right-wing Christian idea of family values.
It becomes satire
It
almost.
becomes satire of it, but the movie itself really is about the values that this family has and what brings both of these two families together. But with that whole thing, it still feels so relevant after 20 years of dealing with the same freaking issues for 20 years, and especially like over the last week or so when we've been getting that in the news about the Texas abortion bill. It's like I've seen people post like stuff about that on Facebook, and every time I see it, all I send back is a meme that I made of that bit from this movie where she's talking about, well, if they're going to kill somebody, kill the mothers. That'll teach them. It's like, I know what you're thinking. Well, if you kill the mother, then the fetus dies too. But the fetus is going to be aborted anyway, so why not let it go down with the ship?
I guess you could say the mom's the captain.
It's like, and the talk about gays in the military, which was a major issue at the time, because it was actually like 96.
The Clinton.
It was the
Clinton era,
the whole the Clinton era, and that was like, I think 96 was when we got the whole "don't ask, don't tell" thing.
Okay.
I think that actually happened in 96. That wasn't something that like happened before Clinton. That was Clinton's compromise, because the lobbyists at the time just wanted to, for everyone just to be fully open, fully out, and everything. And then that was the compromise that had been made. Just, we won't ask, and you don't tell us, and
bygones be bygones.
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good.
Yeah.
And it was almost more hurtful for the military than if they had just let everything like go in the first place. But it's like those issues still keep popping up. So the movie still continues its relevancy to this day with everything.
Absolutely.
Did anybody notice that the cinematography was by Chivo?
No.
Emmanuel Lubezki?
No.
Yeah, when I watched it last night, I saw that.
No.
He did like Children of Men.
Yeah.
Wow.
Terrence Malick's Tree of Life. Obviously, the
some
3
really
Oscars
good
in a row.
Oscar-worthy-
Birdman, not Birdcage. and The Revenant. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he shot the movie, yeah.
There's one really great shot. It's the very opening shot where you have it going over the water, and then you see like the South Beach, and it goes right into the club. I've seen that in a couple 90s movies where it just has like the ocean, and the camera is panning over the water, and then you zoom into on land. But this goes even further, just right into the club, and just that whole scene. It wasn't one take or anything, but just like him panning over from Robin Williams, going to the kitchen, seeing the steak drop in the ground, he just turns his back.
It's no wonder he doesn't trust his own staff downstairs to cook for the meal. That happens later on in the movie. It's like, we'll just have Armand do it.
It's
I don't
really
trust
well
the
done.
chefs downstairs.
It's something you wouldn't notice when you watch a movie like this because you're too busy laughing. But like, when you stay and appreciate the other things that attribute to this movie, to cinematography, it really is very well made.
And it's just like nonstop laughs too, really. I mean, you get a nice pause break, and then boom, there's another laugh. You get a nice pause break, boom, here's another laugh.
It's like Oscar Wilde stuff. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Like, just like almost every line is a pun.
Oh yeah, just
And-
even the
Puns and innuendo. And
it could tank a movie, but it's a strength.
even the silliest things that you wouldn't think are funny, like at the beginning where they say, "Oh, we got the Kennedys are here." And Robin Williams goes, "Is Ted here?" and they go, "No, it's his kid or something." And he goes,
like,
"Oh,
God,
no.
I wish we could get Ted."
I wish we could get Ted. Make sure you give him coffee.
Give him free coffee.
And then he goes up to him and says, "Make room for coffee."
It's like we're not going to foot their bill anymore tonight. It's like we're done hosting these people for the week. It's like, of course, later on when Val is telling Armand about the family coming down, it's like kind of like almost ambushing him with the information. Just like, I have no control over this. They're coming. That's the end of it. And they're like in the middle of rehearsing for like for a number or something. It's like
You need to do an eclectic celebration of it.
Fussy.
That's the quintessential Robin Williams moment in that movie.
It really is. It's really the only moment where Robin Williams is the most Robin Williams. It's like he gets to be the most over the top as we.
He does 6 impressions. He's throwing his arms about. He's doing all these different poses.
You know, you probably see the more serious from him than any of the main characters.
Oh yeah, Robin Williams
Yeah.
is playing the straight man. Mm-hmm.
He is, yeah, in the relationship.
Well,
Ironically.
to an extent.
He's ironically the straight
Val,
man.
Right.
Val still calls him out, and he's like, "You have to act differently."
Yeah.
A little bit.
What do you mean I'm obvious?
Kirby, that's art.
That's all.
But yeah, it's like, but that's I like that scene. That's the most we get of Robin Williams being Robin Williams, and again, most of that is improv.
Yeah.
The line at the end of that whole list of dancing, but you keep it all inside. that was actually suggested by the director.
Oh, really?
And when he keeps saying it's like it's Madonna, but that's probably the most memorable part of that.
Right,
movie.
Madonna.
It's like, and I love like and again with the casting for this, he's saying that to an actor who was actually a backup dancer for a Madonna tour.
Oh, that's the same guy too who was like chewing gum while
Yes.
Albert
Yeah,
was dancing.
chewing gum, right.
And he goes,
He can't
Armand,
chew gum while I'm singing.
chewing gum helps me think. Honey, you need more gum.
You're wasting your gum.
You're wasting
Oh
your
yeah,
gum.
doesn't he say like Robin Williams directs him and says, "Okay, I don't understand. Try more gum."
It's like, the scene when he's worried that dinner is starting to go to shit, and he goes back into the kitchen to grab the soup.
Oh, and he slips.
The soup, yeah, the slip was an accident. That was
Okay.
totally by accident, and they kept it up. And if you look at it, you can tell it's like everyone in that scene is about to lose
light
their
it.
freaking mind. It's like, just go. It's like, fuck your shrimp. Everyone is about to crack in that scene because of the fall.
Is that an egg? What? An egg? Why, yes, it is.
Yes, it is the huevo. It's like and Hank Azaria, of course. I mean, as all of his little one-liners too. We keep going back to the lines and the one-liners.
We really do. There's a lot of them.
You're afraid of my Guatemalanness, my natural heat, my
heat.
Guatemalanness.
My heat.
But as funny as the movie is,
There's a lot of heart.
there
to it.
really
is heart
is
to this.
a lot of heart, and it's primarily between the gay couple. It's primarily between Armand and Albert. Like as big an issue as they have, it's like because for most of the movie it feels like Robin Williams is just completely done with Nathan Lane's shit.
Yeah.
This is like he's like barely paying attention to the fits that Albert is throwing, because this happens every week probably.
Every day.
This diva-ish behavior. He's just so used to this. But like towards the end of it, it's like you really can see how strong a couple. I mean, it's even before the Keeleys show up for dinner.
Yeah.
It's like because in the beginning of the movie, Albert is demanding that they have a palimony agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's 96, they can't legally be married, but
Right.
they can at least be partners in their business,
Yeah.
and insists on having the palimony agreement. And then when Robin Williams finally shows up with it, everything turns out to be in Albert's name in the first place. So if they were going to have a palimony agreement, he would be giving half of his stuff to Williams. It's
Right.
it's like you have it all. You have everything, because everything I do is for you. And it's for the benefit of you and this family.
And that was the scene after.
Is that on the bus bench?
The bus bench.
When
Yeah.
he says he's going to La Scopa. There's nothing in La Scopa except a graveyard.
I
That's why
know.
I'm packing light.
You're going to the cemetery with your toothbrush. How Egyptian.
And it's after that scene where Albert says that he's leaving that Robin Williams says, "Here's the palimony agreement."
Great scene.
Yeah. But even prior to that, there was a scene where Val says, "You got to get rid of Albert," and he's like, "No, Albert's my companion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like that? Tough."
Yeah.
He even says, "Fuck the senator. I don't care what he says."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
It's
there's
taken
another
20
scene
years
where,
to get here.
even though he agrees to have Albert move out of the way, he's like, "I don't want you to talk to me for a little while."
Yeah.
He says that to his own son.
Yeah,
He's like,
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's like what
much-
John was saying earlier, and that's true.
I'm making all the sacrifice for you and your wedding. That's great and everything, but don't tell me to change how I need to be. Right.
Because that is one of the worst things to do. I mean, it's okay to guide somebody into living a better life, but to take somebody's identity away, I mean, that's just toxic.
That's another one of those themes that this movie brings up.
And especially especially in the 90s, because the 90s, because of the AIDS crisis and because of like the whole don't ask, don't tell thing, like the idea of coming out was so incredibly important, and we got a lot of media from the gay community about the importance of living life as you are and not trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Because the 90s was when the whole like the Pride festivals things, I think, really started to like really take off. Like we've been having like Pride parades and everything for decades before that.
Okay.
But the 90s is when it really, I think, came into prominence because not visualization, but like exposure of the community, like living your best life as yourself and allowing people to see that was seen as the best way to get people to try to understand the community and then basically to accept the community as it is and understand that, you know, it's like we're here, we're not going anywhere. You know, the old saying, we're here, we're get used to it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was more of a 90s thing than anything because it was all about exposure of the community, and then so there's a real theme through the movie about self-identification. It's like, I know who I am. I've spent 20 years getting to this point in my life. I'm not changing it for anybody.
Yeah.
And then feeling the need to make that kind of sacrifice, even if it's just for a night, just to make things a little better. But then in the end, I mean, they're still able to break out and be who they want to be in the first place. And that's why in the musical, at least, we get the iconic song that's like, I am what I am. And it's the same basic message towards the end when the wig comes off and the charade is exposed and everyone finally knows what page everybody else is on.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, no, that's totally on the point there.
It is,
I mean,
yeah.
and when you think about it, I don't really recall too many movies dealing with like homosexual interest, at least like that, like made it mainstream. I mean,
in the 90s, around that time, there were
There's Philadelphia.
yeah, I was
There's
gonna say
Philadelphia was Tu Wong Fu, but that was
Tu Wong Fu and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh yeah,
Priscilla Queen of the Desert.
I mean, I'd argue a Rocky Horror could be thrown into there.
Probably. I mean,
I can see. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we have a bisexual cross-dressing alien.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
I mean, you want to go another dimension with it.
yeah. But and then that was definitely like Rocky Horror, as subversive as Rocky Horror was at the time, and it was meant for like the shock value of it. This was definitely, this movie and movies like Tu Wong Fu, well, maybe not so much Tu Wong Fu, but like Priscilla
Yeah.
was a way to try to normalize this culture of people and say, you know what, they're just like everybody else. It's like, like even after the wig comes off, Albert is saying, this is like, I want you to know that I meant everything I said about
Yes.
a return to family values. And it's like wait, so was that whole abortion thing like real, or were you just playing, just playing the senator?
It's
like,
just me with one tiny
difference.
Well, not tiny.
Not tiny.
It's like, but I feel like that's in the end the real message of the movie is the family values and
Absolutely.
and the staying true to who you actually are in the end. Because it like I said, it almost saves the day when Albert shows up dressed as the mom. Until Christine Baranski actually shows up. It's like, oh shit.
But the only reason she shows up is because of the media
paparazzi
circus that's
media.
following
They took-
Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
and
They
takes
took the note that
Yeah.
says like, "Don't come in
Yep.
to the door," and she still does anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that one paparazzi guy from the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
It's like he's put on so much weight since the Simpson case.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and the photographer guy that's with him, it's like I saw in like 7 other movies the same week that I saw this. He's like everywhere, and I can't remember that.
I know
guy's
you're
name.
talking
He's
about.
that guy who you see that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
He was in True Lies for
Right, right,
It's
exactly.
like,
You're talking about Grant Heslov.
Yeah, that's his
okay.
name, Grant
Yes,
Heslov.
He was in Congo.
Yeah.
yes, that was. The
And
other
like we
thing I just
mentioned
saw.
earlier, he was
He's-
one of the many recognizable cast and producers of Argo. Remember, he won.
Yeah.
He was a producer of Argo.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
He's just been that side character in all these movies. Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need. People don't realize how important side characters are. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, side characters are kind of like, you've heard me say this before, that filmmaking in a lot of ways is a lot like football. You know, like the director is the head coach, and your set guys and costume people are your assistants, and the producer's kind of like the general manager who manages the money and says, okay, I agree if you get this guy. Your main star is the quarterback, and the side actors are kind of like the wide receivers who help progress the plays down the field.
Right.
You know, and the sets are like the home stadium, and the costumes are the uniforms, and all that. It really helps bring out, like the character. Like I remember Jack Nicholson saying that when he did Joker, he could audition and give you a little bit of something, but he said, I'll find my character when I find my wardrobe. And it's no different than like when we're doing Halloween stuff. We put on a costume. It's like, hey,
it's amazing how much just like a simple clothing change will help you get into a character.
Exactly.
As a high school football coach, I agree with you.
Well, as a filmmaker, you should too.
Both.
There are like strange correlations to it, and it is your surrounding guys. Like a quarterback and a wide receiver can't just do it. You need an offensive line to block, so you need more guys to help you, get your surrounding atmosphere and bring out the best in you. Like I've heard so many people talk about Heath Ledger, and one of the greatest things that he ever did was he always worked with somebody on the set to bring out the best in them. It wasn't always about him. I think Michael Jai White had said he wasn't even on camera for one of the scenes in The Dark Knight.
Okay.
But he dressed up in the makeup and the costume for hours just to get the side shots, just so that the guys on the side would still feel like the presence of the Joker was there. And he said, like, even on Parnassus, I guess the girl who played the young girl, I don't remember her name. She was the daughter.
Okay.
They said she was pretty green in acting and had to do a lot of scenes with Heath, and he was kind of like director on set and helped her out. And Terry Gilliam said that he really brought out so much more in her, because people don't understand that there's so much to back up guys. You don't have to be the star to steal the show.
Oh no.
This movie proves it.
Football.
Football. How about them Dolphins?
So of Armand and Albert, which one is the tight end?
Oh, I guess it all depends on who's on top.
Or the wide receiver.
The wide receiver. Yes.
Everybody sends it out.
Running back,
more or less.
fullback.
The only people, again, the only people who don't really stand out are the two kids.
Yeah.
What the whole plot is basically about, pretty much. Like,
It's like, and it ends with a wedding. So we get so after the media farce that shows up and surrounds the club I love that. It's just print news. The Keeleys end up escaping the media circus by dressing as drag queens and going out through the club.
It's a Greek comedy. It's a Greek comedy. He's a cultural attaché to Greece, and all Greek comedies end with a celebration or a wedding, and that's exactly what happens
with Jewish.
Yes, well, it's like half Jew because they have a priest and they have a rabbi at the wedding.
They do.
So they sneak the Keeleys out with the other drag queens at the end of the night through the club, and then we get. Gene Hackman, it's still so obvious it's Gene Hackman.
Oh my God, yeah.
I have seen some incredible drag transformations, but it's still so obviously Gene Hackman.
And actually, I will argue this. You could argue it looks like B. Arthur.
Don't leave me alone. I don't want to be the only woman dancing.
But then again, I mean, is B. Arthur really a woman? So,
but it's like, and then when they get out of the club and they're getting to Christine Baranski's car.
Yes.
and finding the driver of the Keeley's car
that took them to the club.
It's like meet me at this location or whatever. I don't remember where it is. And it's like as they're driving, it's like not on your life or whatever.
Not for $1 million, because the guy kept getting bribed for information, and he says, "No, not for $1 million." Yep. Oh gosh.
And then we get the fantastic wedding where we of course still get. I hate that the wedding shot like the movie ends
with the credits rolling.
It rolls with the credits, but the end shot is of
the kids.
Is of the kids like just having kissed for the end of the wedding. It's like. This was not their movie.
No, this was not the emotional core of this movie.
It's like, but at least we still get that one like crying squeal from Nathan Lane
Yes.
in the podium.
And it's almost like them coming together because they're sitting together at this wedding, and because they always feel this distance from the beginning of the movie. Now they're like sitting together at this great, wonderful moment.
And again, it's like a serious moment, but yet they sock you with more one-liners again. Like there's the drag queen that just leans over and says, "Bob Dole is gorgeous," and then the two old ladies that are on the senator's side. No, which one's the mother?
I just don't know.
I don't know. It's like just when you think we're done. No, not yet.
No.
It's like I almost kind of wish they had made a sequel to this, the American version, and seen how much farther they could have gone with another plot line later.
Oh my god.
It would have been interesting, but I feel like this would have been one of those things where you get the band back together, but it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, but it might not be a duck.
It's not as
Yeah, they might not have had the success with it.
It probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it really does feel like one of those movies that are a one-off. I'm not saying that never happens, because look how many times we get sequels to movie that shouldn't
Didn't
be
need
there.
it, but we're getting it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I guess, does anybody else have anything to add in the discussion?
I just have one last thing. It's just we have already kind of talked about like the things that we obviously loved and laughed at because this movie is still making us laugh. I mean, if you listen to the whole thing, we were cracking up constantly.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely say the weakest thing about this movie was the last 15 minutes because Val and what's his fiance's name again? Barbara.
Close to Florida.
Val and Barbara, like this whole time they're distant, and then they finally come together in the last 15 minutes. We don't really have that connection between the two of them at all because they're like at different ends of the coast, and they're always talking about like we're getting married, but you never really get them together until the last 15 minutes, and it just kind of feels like, don't you think maybe Barbara should have been down there with him the whole time, maybe, or at least closer by, and then the parents are coming alone?
They only actually have 2 scenes in the whole movie.
That's
where
it.
They're like right next to each other
Like,
doing
I don't
anything.
feel anything for this couple, to be perfectly honest, because one side of the movie you have the satire with Gene Hackman being the senator and then the family coming down, and then you have the wedding, but the real core, the meat of the story is between Armand and Albert.
Oh yeah,
and that's really what the focus is, but it's just the big plot, the whole thing that drives this whole thing together is this wedding between the two young people. And then it just kind of felt like, I want to say a little lazy at the end, because we got that credit scene rolling when they get out of the club. I'm like, couldn't you have slowed down a little bit? Maybe had like another scene or two to launch it into the wedding or something, or maybe you could have had like a small moment here or two before the wedding actually happens.
Yeah, the wedding.
I just felt like
epilogue.
I just felt like it was stitched together, and it's like, okay, the movie's done. Let's just kind of end it. I'm like, you could have done a little bit more.
I think the ending to La Cage was actually, I don't remember seeing the whole thing, but I do remember seeing the ending, and I kind of remember the Albert character is just like still arguing and being a diva, and Armand's trying to calm him down, and he's still like blah 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 blah, and then finally just like the movie just stops.
Yeah,
I just felt like I felt like that was a better ending.
We could have had a stronger ending. We really could have. I mean, even despite the fact that this is a gut-bustingly hilarious movie with some great improv, some great actors.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally underrated.
Very like, underappreciated, maybe not underappreciated, but underrated, because I feel like this is a movie that really doesn't get a lot of attention. Like we were saying before, more people need to go see this movie because we touched on the themes. Exactly, that's what we're talking about.
It's on Netflix right now.
It is.
Go watch it.
For $7.99 a month, you can watch this movie along with other movies, for
I
better or worse.
actually watched it on a channel called Ovation, like they're on demand.
Oh, really?
They have the channel Ovation.
Yeah. I'm sure if you got a logo too, it'll be on there at some point.
You can definitely tell
would
this
think.
was.
Yeah.
I don't even at this point. I don't even know what kind of programming is on Logo. And I mean, RuPaul's Drag Race is on VH1 now. It's like, what else does Logo have left? I mean,
Maybe VH1 owns Logo.
It was just really interesting for me to watch it for the first time in 2019. Like I
because
said
of
about different things about the 90s to now. Like I touched
Oh,
on at the beginning.
could you
It's
imagine how much trouble they get in for this movie now?
I don't think
You don't
would.
think so?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it's quite like that. it's just interesting to see the similarities and the differences. Like, a lot of the political discussion was very similar to the kind of discussion people have today. You know, it was interesting to see it for the first time. Because I think comedies, you know, a lot of them have to do with when you saw them, like when you were a kid.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
They definitely do. Because there are older comedies that my dad likes that I just don't like. And then there are comedies that I guess younger people like that I don't like.
And sometimes there are comedies that you see as a kid and you go, oh, that's funny, but you don't know. Like Married with Children. I grew up watching Married with Children. I didn't get the sex stuff. But now that, you know, I'm older, I thought it was funny then. I think it's absolutely hilarious more now.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you can learn more things. But then it could be something like, I don't know, like Power Rangers, where we thought it was cool, and you watch it again and go,
wow,
oh
this is really
my
cheesy.
God.
Yeah, this movie actually aged very well.
It does age very well.
Whereas most comedies, like I'm saying, are very
The last-
generational.
the- and the last
It's the
gets
most
stale.
generational,
It's
you know, genre of movies.
It's not a Will Ferrell movie where it's stupid either. It's just it's smart, clever, and
It's all the comedy in this movie is witty and character based.
It's all because of due to great script, great improv. Because the main goal of a comedy is to make you laugh. If it makes you laugh, that's a plus. But if it can go on some other themes and other subjects, that's even better.
Oh,
because there are comedies that are just purely just trying to get a laugh at, like Dumb and Dumber. Like there are no deep themes with Dumb and Dumber at all. That movie's just designed to get a laugh out of you, and that's it. That's all it brings to the table. But this movie actually touches on themes that are still prevalent to this day, and it also just, like we said, like we've been talking about the whole time, the humor, the script writing, the improv, and how it's still quotable to this day. We can quote the whole movie, and it's still making us laugh inside and out. So that's even better than just a comedy that can make you chuckle once or twice.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this movie also like we were saying in the 90s there was a lot of movies about there were some movies about the gay community and like drag queen stuff, but I feel like this movie probably more than anything else that came out around that time, maybe even more so than Philadelphia, probably gave a lot more exposure to the community. And was probably better for the community in the long run than almost any of those other movies that came out. Because when you have a name like Robin Williams attached to it, and everyone is going to go see this movie,
right?
It's like this is probably one of the best ways that you can get get the issues out there and humanize it. It humanizes these characters as much as it's having fun with them.
Exactly. It is a community-based movie because you have all these shots of just like the South Beach area. Like it brings the whole community, whether in Miami, the music. We Are Family. That's the opening theme song to this movie.
And closing.
And closing.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty. So you guys have a favorite scene, least favorite scene? What's your takeaway from the movie?
Favorite scene's got to be that moment in the restaurant where Albert is trying to walk and be straight. I mean, we talk about the John Wayne walk. I mean, it's priceless. It really is. I never knew he walked that way. It's too good. I don't think I guess the least favorite scenes I have are really with Val and Barbara. That's really it. And just like I said, the last 15 minutes I thought were a little weak, like it was trying to rush to get it done. That's it.
Greg?
I agree with mostly what John is saying. I also like when Nathan Lane is trying to go sit on the bed and he's got his suit on for the first time. And he's trying to act like a man, and it literally takes like a minute and 15 seconds for him to just get comfortable, and he's changing his legs and his arm positions and his hand positions, and then he's finally like, "What's wrong? I look like you. I'm a guy."
And the pink sock is showing.
Yeah, the pink sock.
What about those? I haven't really picked out a favorite scene in this as hilarious as everything is. I still think the whole toast. The toast scene is still, I think, the funniest scene in the movie. Absolutely the funniest. And I guess that's one of my favorite scenes. I think the other favorite scene is the one that has so much heart, where they're talking about the palimony agreement. Towards like before the dinner shows up. And again, the kids are the worst part of the movie. The kids, particularly Val. This is like Callista Flockhart. I think Callista Flockhart hasn't really had much chemistry with anybody on screen ever, except maybe Christian Bale in A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh my god!
But Val, my least favorite movie, my least favorite scene in this movie is probably the one where Val is trying to convince Armand to change the club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's like that's it. You're 20 years old. You've grown up with these people, and you're now just springing this on them that you're insisting that
right,
because it's not so much the actor's fault that I don't like this scene. It's just this scene is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For me as a gay man, this scene is uncomfortable because it's insisting that after 20 years you go back in the closet for a day or a week so that I can
who raised you and try to provide for you.
Exactly.
And that's what you show him.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it's like as annoying as Val is throughout the movie and as bland as Val is through the movie, I think
quite bland.
Yeah, my least favorite scene is that one, and it's not because of his acting; it's because of what's happening in it. It's just for me, it's a little uncomfortable. It's
funny you say that because I was thinking my least favorite scene, and it's not because of the acting, but it's because it's the scene where Robin Williams is just sitting at the bar, and he's contemplating what he's doing, and you could tell he doesn't want to change. He doesn't, but it's for his son, and he realizes that, like, maybe I should just do this, just to like get it. But it is like you said, it's uncomfortable, and it's like, how is that fair to him? Like does the kid come off as a spoiled brat? No, we don't see that, but it is almost like, Dad, you got to do this for me, and he kind of says it like, come on, do this for me.
That's actually a deleted scene. When Robin Williams is sitting there at the bar contemplating what's going on, there's actually a deleted scene where he's talking to the bartender, and he has a heart-to-heart with the bartender, and I think something the bartender says actually makes him consider it and ultimately decide to go along with it.
Okay.
Interesting, because I don't think I remembered that scene. That's probably why. It wasn't in the version.
There's actually
it's him at the bar. It's just him at the bar, and it's just him thinking. There's
you just see them.
Yeah. And like we had said in previous episodes, like sometimes tiny things can go a long way. And I guess you did
small details.
And it was just his face. It was just his face. That's it. Even the lighting, I think, played an effect into it. But as far as a favorite part, I mean, the whole movie is just gold. Yeah. Although one line that I remember that sticks in, and it's one of those that you can quote it, but if you don't know the movie, you don't really know it. But it's when not only do they explain that Armand and Albert are gay, but Armand is also Jewish, and Gene Hackman's just in shock, and
can't be Jewish.
And he's like, "What's going on?" And Dianne Wiest goes, "He's a man. They're two gay men," and he goes, "No, you can't be Jewish." Anything.
No. Oh, she says the real name is Goldman.
Yeah.
And then
but then after that, the mom's explaining the homosexual man, and that's the shocker there. And it's like, no, you can't be Jewish. You can't be Jewish.
And then Dianne Wiest has that great line too. That it's like, somebody has to like me best.
See, Barbara, now I upset your mother.
I'm up for re-election. I realize you want to get married, but how many lives do you have to ruin to do it?
Oh my god.
But yes, like as we said before, this movie has a ton of heart. It is totally underrated and underappreciated. If we can find a way to bring this movie back, hey, so be it. And who did this? Paramount? I don't know.
I don't remember actually.
Well, whoever it is, if
United Artists.
That's right, United
Are they
Artists.
still around?
I think they are, but very loosely. Not really.
They've probably
been absorbed by somebody else.
Yeah, they've probably been absorbed by somebody else.
Well, if we bring this movie back, we need a sponsor. So, just a takeaway. Yes, it's a comedy movie. Yes, it's a non-original. It's based on a French version, and it's Americanized, but we all highly recommend this movie to anybody who's listening to this.
Yeah.
Go see it. It's got a ton of heart. You'll have nonstop laughs, and if you don't laugh at all with this movie, then you might as well have had Pazuzu take you away, because, I mean, this is...
Something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
If you can't laugh at this movie, then you can't laugh. There's something wrong with you.
You have
no sense of humor. Yeah.
No humor at all. And you're too uptight about things in life.
Right.
Take that away.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that will wrap up this episode of the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Colin Peters.
John Rochetter.
Ben Ruth,
Ben Ruth, thank you again for joining us on the podcast. We hope to have you again sometime.
thanks for having me. I'll be happy to come back.
Not a problem. And we are signing off.
Please, somebody help me.